Did you know you can sponsor your favorite podcast on the Spin Market Podcast Network? Hi, everybody. I'm Peter Stockdale, host of the Spin Market Report. In quarter one of 2026, our podcasts had over 300,000 views across all platforms, totaling 1,500 hours of watch time. So whether you're promoting a product, a service, or a special event, we can help you reach the audience that matters. Get more information on how to sponsor your favorite podcast on the Spin Market Podcast Network at spinmarket.com. That's Spin Market with 2Ks.com. Spin Market, your business, your message, our platform.
It's the Spin Market Report. Here's your host, Peter Stockdale.
All right, 100 episodes. We did it.
We did it.
We did it, everybody.
That's exciting.
It is exciting. Only 15% of all podcasts ever make it to this far.
Yep, no party hats this time, no champagne, no certificates of awards for anybody, but we know we did it.
Yes.
So if anybody,
and we want to make sure everybody else knows that we did it too.
Yeah, if you're listening to this, thank you very much. We're just going to sit down and talk about some stuff we've learned over the last 100 episodes of doing this. I got some fun stats here for you. So we ended up with the first, we always said like, be consistent, et cetera. The first 5 episodes we did were very inconsistent, and we saw very wonky. Sometimes people would listen a lot, sometimes they wouldn't. It kind of depended on who shared what. But once we started being consistent, we gained a lot of followers. We gained a lot of subscribers on YouTube and things like that. Our podcast hasn't exploded by any means, but we do have a pretty good following, honestly. Like, if you sit down and think about all the podcasts I've made in my lifetime, this is doing pretty good, honestly. So the other thing was, this is our 100th episode, but if you include Spin It, this is technically our 124th episode of this podcast. It's just,
I did not know that.
100th episode of this series. So, but again, Spin It was pretty inconsistent. Another one of those ones where it was like, some episodes would have like hundreds of views and some would have dozens, but we have like one of the Spin It episodes with like 900 views. So
which one was that one?
The Megan one. The
no.
last one was Megan.
Megan. Oh, yes.
Yep. So that was always one that there's no video version of that one. It's just audio only, 900 views. Don't know why. It just fit perfectly.
Everybody likes Megan.
That's what it is for sure.
Well, and I think that's a good point. I just got done talking to a large franchise group that is asking for some help with us to do some of their stuff that they can't do individually. And we were just talking about how sometimes getting it out there, and you just never know who shares it and who their following is on there. If they have the right following, boy, you can just explode. But you do have to push it out there.
Yeah, I mean, making something's better than not making anything. I'll tell you what. There's so many people that are like, how come they don't have 1 million followers? It's like, because you don't post anything,
Yeah.
Podcasts are great for content creation. If that's something you want to do, you can always hit us up over here at Spin Market. We can help you out with that. Spin It took 1.5 years to make 24 episodes. Again, inconsistent. But since episode 1, our studio has recorded 267 episodes. So since our first episode of the Spin Market Report, 267 episodes is what we've recorded here, including Spin Market Report. So 167 episodes for other people, 100 for us. We've also, in total, in this podcast studio, recorded 382 podcast episodes as of now, this one right here. So
that's impressive.
That's a lot.
It's very impressive. And we've noticed it from the traffic going in and out, and the comments when we're out and about, and somebody will say, I heard about your podcast room, and people coming in, and they're always amazed by the fact that we change it for everybody as well. I mean, another thing that we've learned along the way.
Yep. So that's 382 episodes. That's a lot of episodes. So there's your fun stats. The very first Spin Market Report episode was 5/23/24. So that was just under 2 years ago, which tracks, 100 episodes. That's about 50 a year. So that's pretty close. But let's get into some fun stuff. So I just prepped some odd questions. Abby is, I would say, an ancillary podcast guest. Sometimes you help me out with the graphics and things like that. So I thank you very much. But what has changed since episode 1? How do we feel about this podcast when we first started it versus now? It just seems like a regular thing now.
Yeah. Are you talking about like from the Spin It or the
Either one of them.
Yeah.
Well, the
Because
biggest
you were
change-
on Spin It.
Yeah, I was forced to be on that.
Forced you to be on this one.
I volunteered for
Yes.
this one.
Yes,
That's
she
true.
did.
That's
She
true.
It was very ecstatic volunteering as well.
So
for
that's
sure.
that's a change.
Yes,
Okay,
that's
there we
a
go.
big change.
One change.
Another big one is you took over, and I feel like it's gotten
It's been
extremely well since then.
Yep. The consistency is there and it shows. Oh, there we
Oh,
go.
we're going to have a visitor on the podcast,
Oh,
too.
no. She's
That's
just
fun.
going to take a nap.
So for all of you guys watching, I don't know, maybe you can see Sadie sneaking in and out of the screen here. Big surprises. Any crazy things happen over either our podcast, other podcasts? Anything fun?
You got my sister on one. That was a big surprise.
And she did very well.
Yeah.
She had a great following.
Yeah, she sure did. That's a good case in point of like if the right person shares it,
Yep.
it does well. Like we've had like really, really big companies with like 80,000 plus people, worldwide reach, et cetera, didn't have as big of a view as your sister's.
Right.
And your sister does like in-home bakery stuff and distributes it around a multi-county area. And it's kind of fun because my sister came back to town a couple weeks ago, but she bought some stuff and it was from your sister.
Oh, cool.
And I don't remember where she got it, somewhere in
And
Humboldt.
she didn't
but
realize the
didn't know.
the connection at all.
Had no clue.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
I mean, my sister listens to every episode and she loves it. No, she definitely missed that episode, but
Well, we're appreciative for her making sure that she's listening to every episode, the consistency on her part.
yes. So what in podcasting have we like learned? What has this taught any of us about business, marketing, etc.? I do have one big one, but I want to see what you guys think. What is podcasting? What have we all learned from podcasting?
I think bringing it back to consistency, keeping it consistent, and then again, people sharing it.
The thing I learned was like you can literally record like 1 hour long podcast in a month or maybe 2 half-hour long episodes and you'll have more than enough content for the whole entire month. You don't have to do like literally anything else. You can just post the episode, some graphics from the episode, some shorts or reels from the episode, and literally your social media can have something every single day on it. And that's, some people think that's a bother, but at the same time, consistent social media posting, if you're only posting once a week, people are going to miss it. But if you're
Right.
posting every day, it's hard to ignore it, you know?
Well, those reels that you're talking about, those are great teasers, basically 15-second teasers. And if you saw the podcast or you thought, oh, that's not a topic I'm not interested in, and then you see a 15-second reel about it and you're going, oh, I didn't realize that was part of the conversation, and then hop on it. Those are the things that people don't realize, those short little 15 seconds.
Yeah, those are like my reminders. I usually save those and then I go back to that and then go find the podcast that it came from.
Yep.
Yeah. So another one I have on here is advice that stuck with you. So that could be for like advice that, we thought about like while we're doing the podcast. The one I always say is be consistently consistent. You always have to be consistent. You always have to do it. If you say the episode's going to come out on Monday, an episode better come out, regardless whether or not it's a replay or what it is. But something's got to come out. But what about like from other guests or that we've learned? Anybody have any fun advice that people have shared that really kind of stuck with you? I know. Again, Abby's usually like across the hall working on websites. So
Yeah, I don't really get to interact with all the guests that we have.
we got you locked away in a dark room. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh.
Hidden in a little corner.
I think one of the biggest things that I hear is, that was really fun.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that it was going to be this much fun. I was worried, they prepped themselves up and then they found out it's just a conversation.
Or people think that it's live.
Oh.
They're like,
Well,
well,
that's a positive.
how are you
Yep.
going to cut this out? I'm just like, it's not live. It's all pre-recorded and then they'll edit it out.
Yep. Another one that we always hear a lot is the room is small. It's like, well, it's funny when you put a few cameras in here how big it seems, but
Yeah.
when you actually like get in here, you're like, oh yeah, there's a lot of stuff in here.
There is.
One of my favorite pieces of advice has definitely been just like always do right by the customer. I think the last few episodes we've done, the one with John Cagle, the one with Nathan Uri, that's 777 remodeling, renovations and repairs, and
Supreme
Painting, respectively. Those two episodes, I get that they were like recent, but they really kind of hit home. I listened to a lot of what they had to say, and I feel like you can't go wrong with a business model like that. You can't go wrong when you're always doing right by the client. You can't go wrong when you're just I don't know. I just think it's the greatest. Those have been some of the big ones for me. And I get that, like, again, they were recent, so they're fresh in my mind, but those have been really, really fun ones. How about top guests? Anybody have any fun top guests? This is going to be a tough one because once we start naming someone, you're going to have to start naming about 5 or 6 others. Otherwise, people are going to feel bad. But
Well, I have to be biased. Obviously, my sister.
woo, justifiably so, though. Again,
And
good
her
one.
bread is delicious, though.
Absolutely, it is.
Something about sourdough.
Yep.
It just brings everybody in. I think in looking at the number of very important people that have walked through the door here, either on our podcast or somebody else's that we've done. We've had Debbie Durham. We've had the Lieutenant Governor as a couple examples. We've had some heads of some very large companies such as Force America here. Not necessarily always with just the spin, but the fact that we're providing this service for our entire community, because as we grow, as these other businesses grow, so does the entire community. And that's a very important thing that we emphasize to our businesses we're working with. Everything that you do just expands what we're already doing in the community.
Yeah. I would say something surprising for me, top guest. I don't really have one, but like a surprising moment I have for this is the fact that I'll do the research, I'll make the questions, I'll come in here, and I think I've got a pretty good understanding of what everyone does. I always leave with a different understanding of what they do. So I feel like that is the important part about bringing people on, is because even though everyone's just like, oh, this guy's a contractor. Okay, so he builds stuff. End of story. It's like, that's not the end of this person's story. You know, Nathan Urey, he paints things. There's more to it than just painting.
There's a lot more.
There's a lot more to painting than just painting, to be honest. I'm not going to paint anything if anybody's asking. Just call Nathan. But yeah, those are some of the surprising things I learned, is just, even though you think you know, even if you really do know, you're going to draw someone's personality out. Like, you can kind of, in a sense, fabricate your personality for a short period of time online. But if you sit here for 40 minutes, your normal personality is going to come out eventually.
I think that's a huge given with what we're doing, is because when we do have some questions to give some kind of continuity across the board, but it's amazing how these podcasts totally can change just because of one thing that the guest says on there, and really shows how comfortable everybody feels when they're talking. They just oh, wow, this is just a conversation. And they start talking about things that we didn't even realize.
Yeah, everyone loves to talk about themselves. And
Positively, yes.
Well, if you meet someone for the first time, you're not going to be like, I do this, I'm cool, I'm awesome. But like, if you ask them about themselves, that's how conversations work. So, I think that's something that's been really fun. It helps humanize people. It helps humanize like an organization in a sense. Because let's just one of our podcasts that we produce here, like Full Swing. It's like, okay, they're money people. Like, that's the end of the story. It's like, no, you listen to 100 episodes of Cole, and Bailey, you'll figure out their personalities pretty quick. And I'm sure one of those 3 would be somebody that you would be comfortable leaving your money with, because their personalities are all different. And I think somebody would gravitate towards one of those 3, if anyone. So
they are all 3 of them are totally different, and that's what makes a team within that organization.
Yep, that's How to Money. For anyone that didn't know, we also produce that podcast. We do that here behind the scenes. Who does what here? I do want to give a shout out to Mackenzie doing a lot of the organization. I don't know if I would have been able to have 100 episodes out by now if I was doing literally everything. Contacting people is not always easy. Like, keeping up that constant communication, scheduling out dates, figuring out what works best for the guest, and then turning around and going back to everybody in the office. Oh, what works best for all of you? Like, that's a lot of work.
She's very good at it, though.
She does a great job and has been very good at helping to find new guests out there as well that we didn't even think about on there.
Yeah, and she's become the producer here in the podcast studio for this episode, or for this podcast. We originally had somebody else doing the production work when we were still kind of inconsistent, but once we started ramping up, we had to have somebody back there that was going to be back there every time. So Mackenzie took over, and it's one of those crash course deals. She never ran any of this stuff, so it's like, hey, this is how you do it. And I think she's done a great job, honestly.
She's done a great job. And that also goes back to what happens internally here. There's a lot of things that, Abby came in just to do website, and now look at all the other stuff that you do along with it.
Yep.
It goes across the board. Everybody comes in with, oh, I'm just going to do that, but they find out that there's a lot of other things that we need to step up and learn. And in the digital world, podcasting world is changing constantly. So there's other things that we have to bring in all the time. And going back to one thing that I hear frequently from clients, if we're talking about, hey, you should have a podcast, they're going, well, what would we talk about? And it's amazing, you start saying, oh, well, we could talk about this. Oh, yeah, we could have a podcast only on this one topic and be able to talk about something every 2 weeks easily.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like people forget that they're the experts. It's one of those things where I think we all have a little bit of an imposter syndrome. But to be honest, if you're out there doing the grind, 4, 5, 6, 7 years, guess what? You're an expert.
You are.
Like, that's just how it works. I mean,
see, I would never call myself an expert just because in the digital world, everything is always changing.
Yes.
So,
I was thinking about this the other day. Like, there's other people that build websites, sure, but I'd seriously, we talked about it off camera. You build such good websites that, I feel like if I was building stuff, it would be like 1990s, just a big box, and everything would be in squares and rectangles, just anchored in there. But you make so much fun stuff, and it's for so many different types of people. And I think that's one of the coolest things about your ability to build websites. Almost all mine would look the same, and almost none of yours look at all the same.
I try to feed off of everyone's personality. So,
and that's a key thing that we do here is make sure that the business, it tells a story about the business. We're not going in and just duplicating what somebody else did on there. It needs to tell that story. Like your Fort Dodge Airport that's going to be coming out, that website. There's going to be some really cool stuff on there. Again, creativity on it. Who would have thought you could make a airport as exciting as what you have on that website?
All about those animations.
Those animations on there.
And
that's something that has been a huge learning curve as well, because that is very important now. And when you first started, animation was not as important.
It wasn't where it is today, for sure.
And that's what makes the more personal end of those websites out there.
It's also wild. That's how things are cyclical. Like, moving things on a website was super fun in the 90s, and then in the 2000s it was this is kind of tacky. Like anchor everything down, nothing should move, and now we're back to things moving is cool again. So that's, like you said, everything's always changing. It's always changing.
Always going back though.
It's always going back.
Back comes back, and it's important again. Yeah. So don't file it away as being something that you're not going to bring back, because it probably will. Yeah,
bust out them bell bottoms and put some animations on your websites.
Oh, that would be fun.
All right. So I have another couple fun questions here. Favorite projects or things that always do well that we've noticed here in the office? Not necessarily just podcasting, but how about you guys? What do you think? What are some things you always put on a website that people always love? Or what are some things that you interact with people and give them or sell, or reports that you give them that's obvious to see that this one thing is always working? Are there any of those that you guys have noticed?
People like it when the website has movability, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So it flows well.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, I was having a hard time explaining that. So the flow of the website. So if it's I don't know, if you have a big picture here that spreads across the screen, and then you have a bunch of things that are just really, really tiny and nothing is flowing, no, I'm not going to stay on that website.
Yeah, 100%. I was talking to Mackenzie about this the other day. Sometimes you run into those websites. The first thing I do is scroll to the bottom and click sitemap, because it's just go to here. It has words. I'll click the thing I want and I'll just go there.
Yep.
Websites being too busy or, non-optimized. One of them's well, this looks great on mobile, but on web,
terrible on desktop.
I'm the flip-flop. I can make an okay desktop website, but I was talking about this one of the last episodes. Horrible on I do not optimize for mobile.
Mobile can be tricky, so it is hard to get that to look cohesive with the web.
I think some of it is you have to think ahead though.
Yep.
Because that's the thing I didn't think of. It was I built this website, everything looks great, and now it's how do I mash this down into mobile? Now it's almost you have to go back and rebuild it. So that's again something you do that you're thinking about. You're always a couple steps ahead of yourself on this. Wild. I don't know. That's crazy to me. Things that always do well, short form content. I'm the podcast guy. I get it. But it's undeniable what short form content can do. It was like 1.6 million views last year on all of our short form content we created on YouTube alone.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
So it's over 2 million now for sure. I'm sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
I have not done any of the stats on like Facebook. That's just not one. It's a little bit more difficult to pull stats out of there if you're not organizing things in a specific fashion. But like, yeah, I mean, it's undeniable with no promotion, etc. I mean, we're not paid, no paid
promotion.
That's
It's
the
all
correct
been
word.
organic. It's been people telling them like, subscribe, share,
Yep.
and make sure that you are getting your friends and your clients and customers, whatever, to go in and like it and share it and getting it out there. So people just do not realize the impact. 1.6 million.
Yeah,
That's insane.
It's
year.
insane. In a year, think of the number of people in all over the world that we've touched that could have learned something about Fort Dodge or our community
yeah. I mean,
or our state.
I think about like some of the biggest channels we've had. I think one of the biggest ones was about 600,000 views on just one channel in a year, which is like, I don't know. It sounds like a good number to me. If I was a company, I was making podcasts and I knew that it reached 600,000 people in some capacity, I'd say that's a win.
I would say so too.
Also, like I think about like if I told these people at the beginning of the year that like by the end of the year, 600,000 people would be hearing what they had to say, I think they might be a little nervous.
Yeah, honestly crazy to think about.
It is. It's amazing. And that's why I remember 5 years ago when I said we really need to focus in on a podcast and we needed to bring in the right people. And of course, Peter has been instrumental in getting our podcasts where they need to be, as well as making the guests feel comfortable
Yeah.
on there. And Peter's done a great job on hosting on all of those. And it shows when we've had two businesses or two podcasts that have hit over 100. And we know that that's a milestone that not very many make.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So what do we got next here? How marketing has changed, social media changes, AI's impact, trends, popular versus overrated. So what about social media has changed since, let's say since Spin It, because Spin It was started in 2021. So it's been 5 years since Spin It first came out, which that was, I was not on here, but we were kind of discussing the impacts of marketing, how you can do it, things that work, things that don't work, what we've noticed, et cetera. But social media has greatly changed since then.
Big time.
I think a big thing is like nobody wants to wait for
There's
their
no patience.
content.
Yeah.
There's no patience at all.
Yeah, short form videos, obviously whatever. Everyone's, they're rotting your brain. But guess what? Everybody watches them. We all do. Whether it be TikTok or Facebook, et cetera. I know people that have no social media. They will not get a social media account, but they're on YouTube watching
YouTube Reels, yes.
And it's like, so it's right back to the same thing. We're still doing, even if they're not doing it, they're still doing the same thing. How about AI's impact? I would say when I first got here, I almost never used it.
Correct.
Same. And that's been about 3 years ago. But yeah, never, like literally almost never used it at all. And now I use it almost daily in some capacity. What have we found AI's benefits are?
Organizing. We had talked last time that it helps organize my thoughts because I have a hard time putting them out on paper. Mm-hmm. And then I think the short form content that helps with the podcasts.
100%. I wouldn't, if somebody told me to make, I think I counted, it was like 4,800 pieces of short form content last year is what I made. And if I had to do that on my own with no AI, I wouldn't be here right now. Yes. I'd be out swinging a hammer somewhere because, boy, I'll tell you what, it helps. It makes it easy. It makes it real easy, and it's awesome when you can make short form content, share it with somebody, and say, "Hey, thanks for being on the podcast. Do you want any of these? You can have them." Give them a little boost too on their social media platforms.
I think on the AI side, one thing that I am seeing with our chat and our AI receptionist out there is the fact that somebody can go to a website or make a phone call and get the answers within seconds versus, okay, where within this website would this information even be? Or what questions should I ask? Because the receptionist, if they're on a phone call, as well as a chat, the AI will help guide them through questions that they didn't even think of asking, possibly.
Well, when we have a lot of small businesses, they don't always have that extra person. So
Right,
the AI
exactly.
helps.
Yeah.
Big time.
I mean, it's that cost effectiveness thing again. If you hire a secretary or an administrative assistant of some kind, it's, $40K a year. I'm just throwing out a random number, but like if you have an AI chatbot with an AI, voice reception assistant type thing, we're talking maybe $1,000 a month max or something. I don't know exactly what the cost, but it's like, oh, this could be cost effective for me, like one lead a month, and it's essentially paying for itself.
Yeah. And it's not going to necessarily eliminate a job, because you have to have a physical person behind that to do some of the additional communication or the things internally or whatever it needs to be. But as AI is best for repetitive situations and short answers on there. Again, like our colleges that we're working with, having their mascot going in and answering the questions on a website that they have is massive. And trying to figure out, okay, where do I even find out where the event section is at? Because sometimes they don't have it listed as events. It may be under the athletic department, or it may be under the fine arts department, and not necessarily under events. But you can go in and type in, I need to know what the next performing arts musical is and when is it going to be. And the chat can come back within a few seconds and say, okay, here's where it's at, and here's the next one that's scheduled.
Yeah, I will say that the AI trend is booming. I've seen it work really well in certain instances, and I've seen it work not super well in some instances. Again, we talked about it, I think it was episode 96, AI versus designer. We like it, but at the same time, we like to have intervention before the AI gets to the client. So it's like one of those things. It's a tool that is in your toolbox. It's not gonna you're not gonna totally repair a car with just a hammer. You need other tools, but hammers are nice to have around, and that's AI as a hammer.
Yep. And that sometimes the hammer doesn't work perfectly either.
Yeah, you might hit your thumb once or
might
twice.
hit your thumb or whatever. So AI is the same thing on it, but you bring up a good point, and especially on the voice receptionist end of it, where there's some tweaking on it to train it to do things correctly on it. The chat has been pretty well organized because is functioning really well. But on the AI receptionist end, there is some glitches on it, but at the same time, at least you know that your message is getting somewhere. Where if you just leave a voicemail, sometimes people don't even check voicemails.
Yeah, that'll happen. There's nothing better than like having it capture a lead for you, and then you don't even have to do any of the work other than just to pull up the report the next morning and be like, who called last night? Who do I need to call back? It's all right there. You didn't have to have your cell phone on you at all times, answering the phone at midnight, or
you didn't have to listen to the entire voice message because it would all be out right there. And it also even brings up, okay, here was the conversation, and this is what they want. They want you to call, or they need this paperwork, or whatever.
They asked about these 3 things, and then that was the end of the conversation. But here's their name and number. And it's like, oh, you can call them back. Now you have a lead. Hey, you called us yesterday asking about this. Can we help you out? That's beautiful.
Because I know, that's torture to go through be gone for a while and go through several voicemails and listen to the whole voicemail. And then at the very end, maybe then you finally found out what they wanted.
I actually hate listening to voicemails.
When they came up with the transcript in voicemails, that was like one of my favorite things ever. But the transcript is not always correct. So you'll be like looking at the transcript, like, what is going on here? And then you listen to it, like, oh, that's my friend. Actually, I know what they're talking about. But so okay, we're getting close to the end here. Trends popular versus overrated. I think we covered that. AI is the trend. It is both popular and overrated at the same time, but you need to have one person at least intervening a little bit with this AI to make sure that it's doing what you want it to do and you're pulling out the information you want to pull out. Advice for businesses. One thing every business should do right now.
Find out how they look online and how their AI optimization is online. They just need to know, can people even find me?
Yeah.
Because their perception of being found and the real perception or the real situation can be totally different worlds.
Yep. How about you, Abby?
Just business in general.
Yeah, I think if I was you, I would just obviously go in the same ballpark as Cheryl. It's like search engine optimization.
Yeah.
Is that important?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that is a science. It's not just coming up, oh, I think this is the word that everybody's using to find me.
Yeah. And I mean, I'll even sit down and explain to our clients like what it is and why it's important. But a lot of the times they come in and they have a website that doesn't have it, and they're like wondering why they're not being found on Google. And I'm just like, well,
I will say one of my favorite things about search engine optimization is when we bring guests and clients in here, sometimes I will just be like, Fort Dodge doctor, and then you see who shows up, or like Fort Dodge construction, and then you see who shows up, or like Webster County construct. Is it different than Fort Dodge? So depending on how people want to categorize themselves and what is on their website, what kind of content is continually, being brought to the top, that's the kind of stuff that people will find when they search for you. I do a lot of optimization on the YouTube end to try to figure out, how can we type in one word and get this to the top? I had one podcast say they wanted to type in Fort Dodge and have theirs be at the very top. And when you typed in Fort Dodge, when I first got here, it was not even on the page. But by the time we got to the end of let's just say the engagement with this podcast, they were number 2. And the only one they were behind was the Fort Dodge school system. And so like if you went into YouTube and typed in Fort Dodge, it was these 2, 1 and 2 podcasts I managed, and they were 1 and 2 if you just typed in Fort Dodge on YouTube. Pretty cool stuff. So
yes, it's very important for search optimization.
Yep. Otherwise, one thing every business should do now, make more content. That's it. I mean, podcasts are easy for that. You don't want to spend all day making social media posts. We can help with that too here. One thing businesses should stop doing. I've got a big one. Don't just go into ChatGPT, say, make me a poster, and then just post the first thing that comes out. You're going to look like everyone else's poster. ChatGPT or whatever you're going to use, they have this system where they're like, it's this season, these posters are what we've made a lot of. It seems to work. Nobody says no. They save them. They post them. Boom. Let's just make another one exactly like that for this other event halfway across town on the same day. And nobody can tell what events are what anymore because everything looks the same.
I honestly don't even look at ChatGPT posters or videos or anything like that. That drives me insane.
Absolutely.
Well, one thing that I would say stop doing is thinking that because you see a billboard about your business, or you see a print ad, or you hear a radio ad, or whatever it may be, that everybody heard it.
Yep. Yeah, you can't. And this is nothing against anybody that prints stuff or any radio stations, but you can't call up your local newspaper and say how many people saw my ad. They can tell you how many subscriptions they have, but that doesn't mean everyone saw your ad.
Right.
Same thing with the radio. They can tell you, well, maybe about this many people watch or listen based on the ad revenue we can draw from this, but that doesn't necessarily tell you exactly how many people saw it. That's the benefit of digital, is people can see how many people actually saw it. You can chase leads down with it, et cetera.
Yep.
How about best low-cost marketing strategies? This is something that's basically going to be kind of a weird one, because we're obviously in the business of marketing and we don't really want to give away all the secrets. But I think social media would be a low cost if they manage it themselves. Bingo. You have to do it right. You have to create content for it. And if you don't want to make content all day long, or you're just going to AI slop it out there, you're just going to look like everyone else. Or people are just going to say, well, if you're going to take 2 seconds and no money to do your marketing, maybe you'll just take 2 seconds and no money to do the service that you're providing too. I've interacted with companies that do AI stuff. I'm on the fence, yes and no about it. You can't really judge a book by its cover, but at the same time, I always kind of double look at stuff where I'm just like, oh, that was made with AI. That's neat, I guess. But at the same time, not everyone has a graphic designer on hand. Creating some content's better than nothing, but I don't know. Just from personal experience, podcasting, you can get unlimited stuff out of this. I mean, you can create all sorts of stuff with this. Might not be, what we're talking about with low cost, but at the same time, like just doing 1 episode a month does better than nothing. And again, I can literally make posts for every day of the month.
And really, if people thought about what their cost is for something, they get one customer off of it. Usually, most of the hard cost is covered. But they need to make sure that they were able to actually see who that customer was. So there are some other things that they need to do. But
yeah, I will say recently we had a podcast that we produce here they do it for like a service to the community, but they also use it for having clients contact them and stuff. And they had mentioned that they had 2 people like stop them in town and say, I listened to this episode about this, tell me more. And so like,
that is so cool.
Yeah, so it works. So while these podcast hosts here are out getting donuts, people will be tracking them down and saying, hey, tell me more. Tell me more about what you were talking about. I need to know more. All right. So the last question I have on here, other than the one that I ask everyone, which I think we'll skip because we all know how marketing impacts us. It puts money in our pockets. But we usually get lunch once a week. What's your guys' favorite lunch spot? Mackenzie, you're behind the ones and twos, off mic, off camera. What do you think? She's turning red and blushing, covering her face, saying no. I don't know. I'll tell you what, if I want to just eat a lot of food, it's definitely going to be Lamita's lunch buffet. Like, I just love going there, but I'll tell you what, if you just stuff yourself on lunch buffet, the afternoon kind of gets a little, gets a little longer. But that's definitely one of my favorites. Otherwise, I think that might be my favorite. It's just kind of like the comfort of a long week. It's like, I'm going to Lamita's this Friday.
I haven't been there very often. I would definitely say my favorite is Stella's, just because I like to get a good coffee with my lunch. So
Nice.
caffeine all the way.
Yes.
Unfortunately, my favorite is not local.
Uh-oh.
I'm sorry, but it's out of Ankeny. It's called Main Street.
No.
It is just really the go-to that we do, that everybody the kids, grandkids, all the adults seem to be able to find something that they like there, and they're always new stuff. And it's,
I don't want to like leave anyone out. I should just go through and name all the places we eat. We do eat some places more than others, but
and that's the discussion. Okay, we did this last week. Who are we going? So we make sure that we get the rounds locally.
Yep. I will just want to give one more shout out to one other local company, like Sneakers. It seems we eat a lot of Sneakers. Sneakers has got a lot of variability in their menu, so there's something for everybody there. So shout out to Sneakers. But yeah, we do lunch basically. I'd say within 6 months, we've hit just about every place in town, other than fast food. But even then, sometimes we'll hit the fast food places. You never know. Just kind of how we're all feeling on any given day.
And how much time we got.
Absolutely. Speaking of time, we're getting close to the end of the time here. 100 episodes. Congratulations, everybody. Thank you, Abby, for helping doing some of the work on the graphic design stuff. Cheryl co-hosting. Mackenzie, stepping outside of her comfort zone and hopping behind the ones and twos. You guys have all been guests on this before. I've sat behind the ones and twos and hosted from behind the counter over there before. So this has just been fun. It's been a fun little adventure for everybody.
You're definitely not giving yourself credit. Like, you've made this podcast. It's not been the same without you.
Oh, thank you very much. Yes. I do appreciate it. It is it's an adventure. Podcasting is an adventure. I will say, even though I am the podcast guy and I am the professional, you got to be okay with looking a little stupid sometimes. Like I said, these guests come in here and you think you got them pigeonholed and you got them nailed down, and you ask a question, you're like, I guess I never thought of that. Yeah. I guess, you almost want to be like, well, I guess I'm dumb. I don't know what you're doing then. I thought I knew exactly everything you did every day, and it's not that way. So
well, just think of all the things that you've learned.
True.
Because of all the different type of podcasts that we've done.
Yeah.
From financial to what we do here, to the Growth Alliance, to whatever, farming, yep. Yes, which that one's another big one that's happening.
Yeah, I think about even just the guests we've had.
Yes.
It's wild to think about, like, we've had people that are like in administration, or like that are sports coaches, or people that were foreign that came here from out of the country, or people that are lived in the country, left, and then came back. It's been pretty wild to see some of the people that have came through the door that we've got to interact with. Almost every company we've interacted with on this podcast is still going strong, which I think is pretty cool. I honestly, I'd have to go back and look to see if there were any that aren't, but I think almost every single one of them are.
Yeah.
I will say there's nothing more sad than when a website gets made and it's really cool, and then the company goes away.
I know. I have a few I'm really sad about.
But the cool part about that is some of the stuff is, and this is going to sound wild. This is totally big picture, but some of these places are like food trucks, and maybe they don't plan on having the food truck forever. But if you beef up their website, make a nice little design, they wrap it, everything. Well, now you got a nice company you can sell.
Yep. And they did.
And there's been a couple of them that literally did that. They came in here to beef everything up just to sell it because that was their plan, and it worked. So they came away with a little money in their pocket in the long run, and now somebody else has a nicely branded, pre-made turnkey operation. Yes. I guess it still would be turnkey if it's in a truck.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, more ways than one.
All right. Well, that's 100 episodes. Thank you guys for joining me, and here's to 100 more, everybody. So like, subscribe, share, all the good stuff. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
This podcast is produced by Spin Market and Digital. Located in Fort Dodge, Iowa, Spin Market's highly skilled team can help you increase your market by updating your website, improving SEO, designing advertisements, and producing podcasts that will grab the attention of your market. Contact Spin Market today for all your digital marketing needs at Digital Agent at spinmarket.com or call us at 515-302-8026. And to learn more, visit our website at www.spinmarket.com. That's Digital Agent at spinmarket.com or 515-302-8026. Or visit our website at www.spinmarket.com.